Good morning, fifth graders, and welcome to the library. I'm Mr. Mendoza, your librarian, and I'm so excited to go over today's lesson, today's topic, copyright and you. Just some quick background. Why are we going to learn about copyright today? Well, your teacher informed me that you guys have a research project coming up. So you might be borrowing other people's words, other people's pictures, and we just want to make sure that you guys understand copyright so that you respect the rights and the works of others. Let's take a really quick look at our lesson outline today. Today, we're going to start off our lesson about copyrights by taking a pre-assessment survey. I want to know, how much do you know about copyright? And if you don't know a lot, that's okay. That's why we're learning about it. Two, we're going to learn the definition of copyright. What does it mean and who does it affect? Who does it impact? Third, we're going to look at, who do copyrights protect? Next, we're going to take a look at something called fair use to determine, can you use it, can you borrow it, or not? Next, we'll talk about something called public domain. And last, we're going to end talking about copyright infringement and plagiarism. Those are things you want to avoid on your report. And last, we're going to talk about your assignment, which will show me and demonstrate to me how much you know now about copyright after today's lesson. To begin, let's begin with today's Google Form pre-assessment survey. If you go to your fifth grade library Google Classroom, you'll find this as the first link in the stream. Go ahead and click it. All right, together I'm going to ask you guys to fill it out with me. If you'll go ahead and click the email to record your email. Have you ever heard of the term copyright before? I want you to pick your best answer, yes or no. Remember, this is not for a grade. This is just to collect information to see how much you know before we start the topic. Next, on a scale of 1 to 4, how much information do you already know about the topic? I want you to choose. 1, you have no knowledge. 2, you have little knowledge. 3, you have some knowledge about copyright. 4, you're an expert. Go ahead and click your best answer choice. And last, you have an open-ended question. When you hear the term copyright, what are some words or what are some topics that it makes you think about? Go ahead and add that in there in the last one. When you're finished, click submit and we'll review the results. Wow, fascinating. After looking at the results of the survey, it looks like we really don't know too much about copyright. We may have heard the word before, but we're not really exactly sure. And guess what, guys? That's perfect because that's the whole point of today's lesson. How is copyright defined? Well, if you'll notice here at the bottom, the U.S. Copyright Office in 2014 defines copyright as a form of protection grounded in the U.S. Constitution and granted by law for original work of authorship fixed in a tangible medium of expression. I don't know about you guys, but this definition is confusing. So I want to break it down into little chunks that are a little bit more manageable. So let's take a look. The first word I notice is that copyright is a protection. Okay, so I know that it's protecting somebody. The next thing I know is that it's a law. So this is protection of, and it's lawful. It also is protecting original work, and it's protecting the authors of those work. So moving forward, we know that you're going to be doing a research project. We want to make sure we protect the authors of the original work, and it's a law. Let's continue. So who does copyright laws protect? Well, it actually protects three. It protects the creators of the original work or the owners of that original work, and it also protects you, the user. So let's take a look at this information. Creators and owners. Copyright law protects creators and owners' rights to their original works. At the same time, these copyright laws limit those rights so that users can use the work. Remember, you are the user, the student. Users such as students may wish to use copyrighted material in papers and presentations. So their rights are protected as owners, but your right to use the material is also protected. Now, before we get going, I want you guys to take a notice. You've already seen some of these little things in parentheses. That's going to come up later. I just want you to notice every time they come up. Before we get going, what's considered original work? The work must fall within specified classes, which include literary, musical, dramatic, two and three dimensional, visual, cartographic, artistic, sculptural, and motion picture type works. And that, oh, take a notice again. We have one of these things again. That will come up later. All right. So, looking at that, what is original work? It's books, it's music, it's plays, it's blueprints, it's art, it's movies, and so much more. So, now we want to talk about fair use. Can I use it? Now, for you to be able to use an original work, you have to meet all four of these factors. They have to be met. If you're missing one of them, you cannot use it fairly. So, character of use. You have to think about how will the work be used? Is it used for education? Is it used for nonprofit? Is it used for personal? You have a more likely chance to use it. If you're using it to make money, you probably cannot use it fairly. Nature of the work. What are the characteristics? Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? And in my research through Butler 2016, page 10, I saw that nonfiction published pieces are the most usable, and that's good news for you because that's what your research projects will be on. The third factor that you need to consider is the amount of work used. You want to use the least amount possible. You can't go use the whole song, you might use a portion of it. The effect on the marketplace. Will borrowing the work result in a loss of money for the owner? If you're taking money away from the original owner, it's probably not considered fair use. Okay, let's take a look at the following scenario. Emily, a fifth grade student, is working on a presentation about endangered animals. Oh, wait a minute. It's a presentation for school? So I would say so far she meets the first criteria. As part of her research, she finds a photograph of critically endangered species on a reputable website. Oh, so it's nonfiction, so it looks like it's good too. Emily decides to include the image to enhance her visual appeal to educate her classmates. Oh, okay. She's only using a little part. She's using the picture. She's not using the whole website. And it doesn't look like it's going to affect the money. So it looks like this is fair for Emily to use. Let's take a look at Alex. Alex is a sixth grade student who loves music and wants to create a remix of his favorite song to share with his friends. Oh, wait, it's not for himself. He's sharing it with his friends. Doesn't look like it's good use. Now, the nature of work, okay, he's using fictional piece. It could work, right? But he's using the whole song. So that's probably not fair for him to use. And it could result in the original owner losing money, so this is not fair for Alex to use. Jacob, a fourth grade student, loves reading books and wants to share his thoughts on a recently published children's novel. Ooh, it sounds like it's for school. Sounds good. He writes a book review and includes a brief excerpt. Oh, okay, so it's fiction and he's only using part of it. Is it going to result in the author losing money? He limits his excerpt to a small portion of the original text and uses critique. It looks like this is fair for Jacob to use. Last, let's talk about Lily. Lily is a fourth grade student and she finds a beautiful image online and she decides to share it with her personal blog. Oh, so it's not for her, it's for an audience. Doesn't look fair. The nature of the work could be deemed fair. She's only using that one picture, but it could be taking away money from the original copyright owner. So since she hasn't met all of these, she cannot use this fairly. Something that we need to consider is called public domain. Public domain is when a copyright expires and the work becomes public domain. Anyone can use these public domain works without permission. Things like federal documents, books like Frankenstein and the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, things like the Bible and scenery. These are all things part of public domain that you can use without permission. But remember, if you're in doubt, always check. And your librarian, me, and your teacher are always here to help you determine if something is part of public domain. Something to be careful of while you're doing your projects with your teacher later this week is to not commit copyright infringement. Copyright infringement is the act of copying someone else's work without permission. but you're not claiming it as your own. So you're doing things like downloading music, movies, software, games. You're downloading them illegally. You're not saying it's yours, but you're downloading them without permission. Printing art illegally and photocopying pages from books without permission, these are all considered copyright infringement. Now, another twist on that is plagiarism. Plagiarism is the act of copying someone else's work without permission. But the difference here is that you do claim it as your own or you imply that it's yours. Some examples of plagiarism are borrowing your friend's book report and turning it in as your own, copying and pasting information from the internet and claiming it as your own, plagiarism. This is something you need to be super careful about with your upcoming research report. Claiming artwork as your own, plagiarism, and that infringes upon the rights of the original owners. One way to get around, or one way to give credit where credit is due, is to use citations. Now, we will talk about citations in a different lesson, but I wanted to show you throughout the presentation, we had these different citations in parentheses, and these were giving credit to where the information came from. Oh, that information was not Mr. Mendoza's, it was the US Copyright Office's. That was not my information, it was Butler's information. That was not my information, it was ideas I gathered and used from Ruben. So you'll see that. Another way to give credit is to give your resource list and cite your resources so that others may find and use that information. And we'll be doing this in a separate lesson. Now it's time for you to show what you know. Today's assignment is going for you to be to pick one of the following topics. You're going to pick copyright, fair use, public domain, or plagiarism. Using what you know, you're going to create a digital poster on Canva that demonstrates your understanding of the topic. In your digital poster, you must include a title, a definition in your own words, an original paragraph, an original graphic, and your grammar and spelling will fall into play. Before you leave today, your poster has to demonstrate that you understand copyright or fair use or public domain or plagiarism. And I look forward to looking at your creations. Any questions? Oh, great question. How are you going to be graded? Well, I'm going to be using this digital poster rubric. You will get 0 to 1 points based off the topic and title, definition, paragraph, graphic, grammar, and spelling. Here are the criteria or the determining factors for you to get a 0 on those columns. Uh, Here's how you get 1 point, and here's how you get 2 points. Basically, 0 points is it's missing or it has a lot of mistakes. 1 point is it's there, but there are a few mistakes. And to get the 2 points means that in those categories, you are perfect. I'll be walking around. I'll be here to help you guys out. Again, thank you for sharing, and I hope you guys learned a lot about copyright.